Okay, so I'm back with part two. I'm not going to do a very quick intro. I'm just going to say it's part two. But I'm going to do the rest of the hands now. You're about halfway through the replaying hands, and let's not delay. Okay, so the next hand I have pocket fives, and I'm still sitting with around 30 big blinds, and I looks like I'm in the small blind, and I get a all in from Candy Crush, and I think I showed this just to talk about different spots, different spots that you should call and fold. And so if Candy Crush had 80 big blinds, sorry, 80,000 here, which is about 15, 18 big blinds, I think I would fold. But because Candy Crush only has 11 big blinds and where he's sitting on the table in the cutoff, I think this is a call. If he shoved from the button or the cutoff, I think that this is a call all the time. Now, I'm really hoping I called this. One of the things I do is I I picked out these hands about a week and a half ago, and I hadn't gone back to them yet. So they're not fresh in my head, but part of the reason I do it that way, and anyone who doesn't believe me, you can tell when I watch, when I sometimes when I play the videos, I don't even know what's about to happen, and I can't even remember the hands, and I'm not faking it, believe me. But the thing is, part of the reason I do that is because I talk about my play before I do it, and I've explained this whole concept before. You should approach every hand where if I covered your whole cards, you could tell me what you're going to do based on all of the situations around you. How many big blinds the guy who raised has, what position you are in the table, where you are in the tournament. All those factors should come into your head before you figure out your cards. Your cards are just part of the picture of making a decision. And I think I've explained this to people before, but I don't do poker. I'm not a poker player by name. Like, it's not what I do for a living. It's definitely a part-time thing for me. And one of the things that I do for a living is I do a lot of logistics stuff, but I manage people and I train people. And one of the things I train, and I've trained courses over and over, is decision making. And anytime you train any type of decision making, there's a whole bunch of factors that come into play, and people need to learn how to weigh each factor and what weighs in it. And so what this exercise does for me is it helps me to understand what my logic is on things and make sure I'm consistent, where I'm doing the same things all the time. And if someone told me, you know what, Mark, if he shoved here for 80K, you should always call in the small blind with your stack in this exact scenario, I would remember that the next time and the next time and the next time. But I can tell you without knowing 100% what I did here, I most likely called. Now, I might play this and not have called, and then I'll tell you I played bad. And that's how I get out of being wrong. But I'm pretty sure I call here. So I folded. And I can't believe I folded. I honestly cannot believe I just gave that speech and folded. It is epically disastrous. Um, I can't think of the logic behind it. I'm pretty sure I put the sand in here, honestly, to show you I was wrong. However, everything I just said was correct because that's how I know this was a bad play, and this is why I put it in the video. I think I'm playing a little too scared there. The reason I would call with fives there is I think he can just shove a huge wide range. I think if you look at the shove charts, he's probably shoving 30 to 35% of hands, and fives is probably in the top 10 or just around 12, 13% of hands. And so I just think that you have too much of his range beat, not to shove. And I think if you jam 30 big blinds here, the guy behind you is, we're going to call you, as such a small sample of hands he's probably never going to have. So I think that's definitely a bad play, and I could have picked up chips there. Now I have similar stack, 28 big blinds, and again, I have no one to blame but myself. I'm not even going after the extra chips, but I have 28 big blinds, and Candy Crush shoves, and oh look, I'm gonna call with Ace King. I'm so daring. Anyway, sorry, this isn't a comedy movie, but it's just bad. So basically, I call with Ace King here, and we'll see what Candy Crush has. He shoved with Queen Nine, so you can see his range is super wide. He probably had something similar on the five hands. Now, a lot of people would say, well, Queen Nine is just a flip with fives, but you take the flip. I would take the flip. If I call here with Ace King, I'm not even that far ahead of if I have fives versus Queen Nine. Ace King and fives here, not a significant difference. I'm maybe 58% versus Queen Nine. So really, fives is 50-50. So it's a few percentage points higher, but I would, pocket fives was going to win here too if he had Queen Nine. Now, he may not have Queen Nine. He was in the cutoff. Here he's on the button, so it kind of wiggles his range. Queen Nine is really low on the list as far as hands as well, but It's not really low, but it's lower, in the 20s, I think. And so, it's just not to harp on it, but that's basically what happened. And I think that's why I showed those two hands back to back.